What if I told you there's a single mistake that can destroy all your dreams? One fatal error that even the greatest names in history have made? Hello, my friends. Today I'm going to share with you a powerful warning from Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest success researchers of all time. For over 20 years, Napoleon Hill studied the most successful men of his era: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and he discovered a devastating pattern that destroys careers, fortunes, and entire lives. This fatal error is procrastination. Postponing important decisions, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes, leaving for tomorrow what could transform your life today. In his groundbreaking book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill wrote, "Procrastination is a silent dream killer. And all because our brain prefers immediate comfort instead of long-term success." Think about this for a moment. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you hesitated? How many ideas remained just ideas because you never took action? The cost of procrastination isn't just wasted time, it's wasted potential, wasted opportunities, and ultimately, a wasted life. Let's analyze a powerful example: Donald Trump. Even as a billionaire and former president, Trump admitted he almost lost everything in the 1990s because he procrastinated on crucial financial decisions. He took too long to realize his ventures were heading in the wrong direction. In his autobiography, Trump confessed, "I knew I needed to make radical changes, but I kept postponing the difficult decisions, hoping the market would improve on its own." This nearly cost him his entire fortune. The real estate market was changing dramatically, and Trump's instincts told him to pivot his strategy. But the human tendency to avoid pain and discomfort, the very essence of procrastination, led him to delay. By the time he finally acted, he was nearly bankrupt. It took years to recover from a situation that could have been avoided with decisive action. Here's the fascinating psychological insight Napoleon Hill discovered. Procrastination isn't just laziness. It's actually a complex defense mechanism. When we procrastinate, we're not avoiding work. We're avoiding negative emotions like fear of failure, fear of criticism, or fear of the unknown. Hill interviewed more than 500 of the most successful people of his time and found that they all shared one crucial characteristic: the ability to make quick decisions and act on them immediately. He wrote, "Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing these decisions slowly, if and when they were changed. In contrast, those who failed to accumulate wealth had the habit of procrastinating on their decisions. They would gather endless information, consult countless experts, and still hesitate to take action. This principle applies far beyond financial success. It affects every area of life: relationships, health, personal growth, and overall happiness. Let me tell you about Steve, one of my clients. Steve had a well-paying corporate job but dreamed of starting his own business for over a decade. He had the knowledge, the connections, and the idea. What he lacked was the courage to take the leap. Every year he would tell himself, "Next year is the year I finally do it." He created elaborate business plans. He attended entrepreneurship conferences. He even set aside startup capital. But he never took the decisive step of quitting his job and fully committing to his dream. When I asked him what was holding him back, he said, "I'm waiting for the perfect time." Napoleon Hill would have immediately recognized this as the classic language of procrastination. The truth is that there is no perfect time. The perfect conditions never arrive. The people who succeed are those who create favorable conditions through their actions, not those who wait for favorable conditions before acting. After working through Napoleon Hill's principles, Steve finally realized that his procrastination wasn't protecting him, it was robbing him. He took the leap, started his business, and while it wasn't smooth sailing, he built a successful company that now employs 15 people. His only regret? Not doing it 10 years earlier. Hill's research also revealed something profound about decision-making. Successful people aren't necessarily those who make the right decisions all the time. They're the ones who make decisions quickly and then work tirelessly to make those decisions right. Henry Ford was known for making rapid decisions and then figuring out how to make them work. When he decided to build the Model T, many engineers told him his vision was impossible. Instead of procrastinating or changing course, he simply said, "Go find the people who can make it possible." He acted first and solved problems later. This is the exact opposite of what procrastinators do. They try to solve all potential problems before taking any action, which leads to paralysis by analysis. Now let's talk about another crucial insight from Napoleon Hill, the relationship between procrastination and fear. In most cases, procrastination is simply fear in disguise. Hill identified 6 basic fears that prevent people from taking action. The fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. These fears, particularly the fear of criticism, can be crippling. When we procrastinate on pursuing our dreams, launching that business, having that difficult conversation, or making that life change, we're often really saying, "I'm afraid of being criticized if I fail." Trump, for all his flaws, understood this concept well. In his book Think Like a Champion, he wrote about pushing through criticism. "I've been criticized all my life, and I've learned to not only survive it but to use it to my advantage." When he finally overcame his procrastination in the 1990s, it was partially by conquering his fear of being criticized for the difficult decisions he needed to make. Now let me be clear. Being decisive doesn't mean being reckless. Napoleon Hill never advocated for hasty decisions made without proper consideration. What he advocated for was gathering sufficient information, then making a prompt decision without endless deliberation. The key distinction is between necessary research and unnecessary delay. Successful people know the difference. They understand when they have enough information to act, even if they don't have all the information. Hill discovered that most successful people follow a simple decision-making framework. First, they gather essential facts and organize them. Second, they seek advice from people they trust who have experience in the matter. Third, they make their decision promptly. Fourth, they stand firmly behind their decision unless significant new information emerges. This framework allows for quick yet informed decisions without falling into the trap of procrastination. Let's consider another fascinating case study: Thomas Edison. Edison made over 10,000 attempts before successfully creating the light bulb. Each failure provided valuable information that guided his next attempt. Had he procrastinated after each failure, allowing doubt and fear to paralyze him, we might still be reading by candlelight. Edison's approach embodied Hill's philosophy perfectly. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This mindset, taking action despite uncertainty, is the antidote to procrastination. Now let's get personal. Think about something you've been putting off. That difficult conversation, that new project, that career change. What's really stopping you from acting now? Is it fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of success? Or perhaps the most insidious form of procrastination, the belief that you're simply not ready yet? Napoleon Hill would argue that you'll never feel completely ready. The people who wait until they feel ready often wait forever. The successful ones act before they feel ready and grow into readiness through action. The opportunity cost of procrastination is staggering. Hill estimated that the average person operates at only about 50% of their potential because of procrastination. Imagine doubling your effectiveness, your income, your impact, simply by overcoming this one fatal error. Now let's apply this principle to modern life. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction. Social media, streaming services, endless content, all designed to hijack our attention and foster procrastination. Napoleon Hill never faced these particular challenges, but his principles are more relevant than ever. The modern procrastinator doesn't just put off important decisions. They fill their time with busy work that feels productive but isn't. Answering emails, attending unnecessary meetings, researching endlessly, all forms of procrastination disguised as productivity. Hill would advise us to be ruthlessly honest about our priorities. He believed in setting clear, definite goals and pursuing them with laser focus. The decision to prioritize one thing necessarily means deciding not to prioritize something else. This brings us to another crucial point, the relationship between procrastination and clarity of purpose. Hill found that people with a clear, compelling purpose rarely procrastinate on important matters. They have an internal compass that guides their decisions and gives them the courage to act. Trump, returning to our earlier example, credits his comeback from near bankruptcy to rediscovering his purpose. In his words, "I had lost sight of what really mattered to me. Once I got clear on my purpose again, making the tough decisions became easier." This clarity of purpose is something Hill emphasized throughout his work. He believed that a definite chief aim in life was essential for success. Without it, procrastination becomes almost inevitable because there's no compelling reason to choose one path over another. So how do we overcome procrastination? Napoleon Hill provided several practical strategies. First, develop the habit of making prompt decisions in small matters. This builds your decision-making muscle for bigger issues. Second, set deadlines for yourself and treat them as sacred. Hill recommended making public commitments to add accountability. Third, take immediate action after making a decision. Even a small step creates momentum. Fourth, surround yourself with decisive people. Procrastination, like all habits, is contagious. So is decisiveness. Fifth, use the burn the bridges technique. Create situations where retreat is impossible, forcing you to move forward. Let me share a personal example of this last technique. When I decided to write my first book, I struggled with procrastination. So I announced the publication date publicly, collected pre-orders, and scheduled a launch event. With my reputation on the line, procrastination was no longer an option. The book was completed on time, not because I suddenly found more hours in the day, but because I eliminated the option of delay. Napoleon Hill would approve of this approach. He believed that decisive action often requires eliminating alternatives. As he put it, indecision and procrastination are twins. Where one is found, the other is usually nearby. Now let's address a common objection. But what if I make the wrong decision? This fear keeps many people stuck in procrastination indefinitely. Hill's research provided a counterintuitive answer. Making the wrong decision is often better than making no decision at all. Why? Because even wrong decisions provide valuable feedback that can guide future actions. Indecision provides no feedback and no opportunity to adjust course. Consider Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, who embodies this principle perfectly. Bezos distinguishes between Type 1 decisions, irreversible, high impact, and Type 2 decisions, reversible, lower impact. He argues that most decisions are Type 2, and we should make them quickly. As he puts it, most decisions are two-way doors. If you don't like the outcome, you can go back through the door. This approach, recognizing that most decisions can be reversed if necessary, is a powerful antidote to procrastination. It lowers the perceived stakes and makes it easier to take action. Now let's talk about the role of habits in overcoming procrastination. Napoleon Hill was ahead of his time in recognizing that decision-making fatigue is real. He recommended establishing routines that eliminate the need for repeated decisions. For example, deciding once to exercise every morning at 6 a.m. is more effective than deciding every morning whether to exercise. By turning decisive action into a habit, you bypass the opportunity for procrastination entirely. This principle applies to every area of life where procrastination might creep in. Decide once, then create systems that execute your decision automatically. This is how successful people maintain their momentum. Another powerful insight from Hill's research is the importance of immediate action. He noted that the longer you wait after making a decision, the less likely you are to act on it. Enthusiasm wanes, doubt creeps in, and soon you're back in the cycle of procrastination. This is why Hill recommended taking some action, any action, immediately after making a decision. Even a small step creates psychological commitment and makes further action more likely. Trump applied this principle when rebuilding his fortune. He didn't wait until he had the perfect plan. He took immediate action on his decisions, creating momentum that carried him forward. Now let's consider one more fascinating aspect of procrastination: its relationship with perfectionism. Many people procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because they're perfectionists. They delay action until conditions are perfect, or until they can produce perfect results. Hill recognized this trap and advised against it. He noted that successful people understand that action, even imperfect action, is always better than perfect inaction. They're willing to launch products that aren't quite perfect, start businesses before they have all the answers, and take opportunities before they feel completely ready. This doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means understanding that perfectionism is often just fear wearing a mask of quality control. The pursuit of excellence should inspire action, not prevent it. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize that overcoming procrastination isn't just about achieving external success. It's about reclaiming your personal power. When you procrastinate, you're essentially saying that your fears are more powerful than your dreams. When you take decisive action, you reclaim control over your life. Napoleon Hill put it beautifully when he said, "The world has the habit of making way for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he is going." This isn't just about confidence, it's about clarity and decisiveness. So, what decisions have you been postponing? What actions have you been delaying? What growth have you been denying yourself through procrastination? The good news is that procrastination is a habit, not a character trait. And like all habits, it can be changed. It begins with awareness, continues with commitment, and solidifies through consistent practice. I invite you to identify one important thing you've been putting off and commit to taking the first step within the next 24 hours. Not next week, not tomorrow, within the next 24 hours. Remember Napoleon Hill's wisdom. Don't wait. The time will never be just right. The perfect moment exists only in our imagination. The present moment, with all its imperfections and uncertainties, is all we ever have to work with. And as Trump learned the hard way, the error that destroys your life isn't making mistakes, it's never starting. If this content helped you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and tell me in the comments, what decision will you stop procrastinating on starting today? Until the next video.